People want to know. Then they're like, oh, I want to download my favorite DVD
No.
or CD.
We're going to need to talk about DC getting some heat.
Oh, what's he on fire
So
for?
we're going to talk about that. Talking about Jim
What?
Miller. Talking about I tweeted to him
Oh.
about Andre Arlovsky. We'll talk about all that in the next segment. We had our weekly correspondent Jason Knight on in hour number 1. Now let's speak to last night's victor. I know this was a while ago, but it was shown last night. Last night's victor from the veteran side as they continue their dominance, Austin Hubbard. Austin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We are fine. We appreciate your time. We're going to talk a little bit about last night's episode and obviously only talking up through last night. First, tell us the whole process, how you got the phone call, how you knew that you were going to be on season 31.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a very last minute. I got contacted by one of the producers actually, like a week or two before I was supposed to leave for the show, and they're like, "Hey, we want you on the show." And so I sent in my application and everything, and then I flew out to Colorado because that's where I trained, and they actually told me like 2 days before we were out supposed to leave that they weren't going to be able to do that team anymore, and I'm not going to be on the show. And then I flew back home to Illinois, and while I was there, like 2 days before the original leaving date, they said, "Hey, actually, we're still doing that same thing. Do you want to be on the show?" And I was like, "Yeah, start date's the same." And they're like, "Yep." And at that point, it was like 2 days before, and I ended up, getting on and going out there. So
Before I ask you about, there's plenty of things I want to ask you. Is Trevor Whitman always smiling? Have you ever seen him not with a smile on his face?
no, I haven't. He's always smiling. He's a very happy, uplifting, happy dude. So he's awesome.
And of course, one of my closest friends, Pat Barry, as we like to call him, he's about the same thing. Always a smile on his face, at least when I see him.
Yeah, same. Every time I see him, he has a smile as well. He's also a good dude.
When did you know who else was going to be in the house? Did you know pre-house or not until you got there or got to the hotels?
It wasn't until I was in the house and then, like pretty much the van ride to the Apex and everything. After I got confirmed, yeah, you made it into the house, because they did bring a handful of people into Vegas, but obviously not everyone made it into the house. So it wasn't until the van ride over that we were all grouped in the van together and everything. I was like, all right, here's the competition.
You kind of sizing everybody up in the van, looking at who's in the van?
Oh yeah, I think that's pretty natural though in a scenario like that.
Now, every time that I talk to a fighter from the Ultimate Fighter, and I go back all the way to the first one, we would always talk about the first thing that you do. And as we got into seasons, and obviously this is season 31, all the fighters know the first thing you do when you get in the house is run at your bed. Did you do that?
I didn't run and get my bag, but that was the first thing I did, and luckily there was me, Jason, all the veteran lightweights. We ended up rooming together, and we ended up with the one room in the basement, so it's kind of nice. We were secluded down there in our own little man cave area.
Our guest last week, and we have the winner on every week. I can't brain fart, dementia, everything else that I have being as old as I am. I forget his name. Who won last week?
Cody.
Okay, right, Cody. So when Cody was on, we talked about it, and he said, I told myself I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to look like everybody else. I wasn't going to run in and get the room. And one of my biggest regrets is I didn't look like one of them and run and get my room, because he said he had the worst room.
Yeah. It's funny because his room that he had was one of the first rooms I actually got into. And I was fortunate enough to
leave
get the room in the basement after like figuring out there was a room down there. So it worked out. Otherwise, I would have been in that room, and I would have been upset if I was in that room the whole season. season.
Yeah, he said it was absolutely horrible. And if he could, I believe he said if I could do it again, I wouldn't run to a room, but I would walk briskly.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the whole scenario, how the picks went. Connor goes prospects. You're obviously the veteran. You go with Michael Chandler. Talk us up to the announcement of your fight that we watched last night.
Yeah, I was very happy that Connor won first pick, and I was really wanting to be on Chandler's team. I just felt like it would have been a better fit for me. Not that I would have been mad to be on McGregor's team because obviously he has a lot to bring to the table. I just felt like Chandler would have been a better fit for me. And when he picked the prospect, I was like, yes, that means I'm automatically going over to Chandler, and I was feeling good about that. Outside of who else was on our team, I didn't really care. I didn't know him at that point, so I got to where I wanted to be, and yeah.
We are talking to Austin Hubbard, last night's winner of the third episode of season 31 of The Ultimate Fighter on ESPN. When did you know that it was going to be vets versus prospects?
I figured it out. I don't know. It was in the talks, obviously a little before I got word of the Ultimate Fighter. But it probably wasn't until a few weeks actually before, I was out in Colorado and all that gearing up, getting ready for it, that I figured out it was prospects versus vets. Because when I first, got called about it, I thought it was going to be a veteran season again, like a redemption.
Right.
Because usually when UFC vets are on the Ultimate Fighter, that's what it's been. So a bunch of, ex-vets trying to get back. Not, obviously, this was the first of the season that they did vets versus prospects. So, yeah, I was, kind of excited about it. It's a different theme, and like I said, I thought I was going facing other UFC fighters, and it didn't work out that way.
Obviously, and again, we're only talking up through last night, and maybe they're not showing it. We all know that the way that they can edit, and I always talk about the Matt Hughes edit, where his fighter loses a fight, next scene they show is Matt Hughes in the back room playing solitaire, and that's where a lot of heat started to go on Matt Hughes. And of course, we later found out he played solitaire 2 weeks earlier, and they pieced it together, and we all have to be aware of that. So before I give you my opinion, was Conor McGregor absent at the first two of the three weigh-ins like it appeared to show on TV?
Yeah, he wasn't at their weigh-ins. He didn't stand in the corners for any of their fights, but, I'm sure he has a lot going on. He's a busy man.
All right, we'll leave it at that. I don't want I have a problem with that, just personally. When we were talking about Connor, in the other hours. I mean, you guys, and that's why it was a perfect fit for you and the veterans with Chandler. And we see what Michael Chandler has done.
Yeah, that was another reason why I wanted to be on Chandler's team. I just felt we would get more of what we needed in this, tough experience. And it's so, different and training and everything. So, someone who's fully in tune to this, ride of tough, that's what I wanted. And I definitely got that with Chandler and his coaching staff he brought in.
And the coaching staff that he brought in is incredible. One of those coaches, and I don't keep very good records. Ryan Bader has either been on the show the most or number 2 behind Tito. So we're not sure, but Ryan has been on a great deal. What was Ryan, able to do and help you during the season?
Man, he's so awesome. He's such a down-to-earth dude, and obviously he's a great wrestler and a great fighter. He's had a lot of success. So any little tips that someone at that caliber can give you advice, and it doesn't even have to be, a big, major, life-changing, career-changing thing, but it could still be helpful.
So Austin, we always go through, fighters, history and Wikipedia and Instagram, and we always ask curiosity about nicknames. We know you can't give yourself your own nickname. That's not how it's supposed to work. So, how did you end up with the nickname Thud? Who gave it to you? There's got to be an amazing
Rose
story
must
behind
have.
it.
Rose must have.
Not Thug, the Thud.
Oh.
Thud. But yeah, how did?
I got started actually. It was my second amateur fight, I think. So I fought for a promotion called Cage Aggression, and quite often when I was coming up as an amateur, even a decent portion of my pro career was Cage Aggression and Mike Goodwin. And so when they release the fight, and they do the commentary on YouTube and all that after the fight happened, people rewatch the fight after it's posted, and one of the commentators kept calling me Thud because of the sound my kicks and punches were making when they would land. And then after that, everyone just started calling me Thud, and I forget how many fights went by that I didn't roll with the nickname, but eventually, a few fights later, I did just finally start writing it down as my fight nickname. Everyone was calling me it. That's how it's given. So that's what I took.
It's awesome.
I like it. I like it. Before we talk about the fight itself that we saw in last night's episode, where are we in filming? How long have you now been in the house leading up to the fight we saw last night?
So I was on the second week of the fight. So that would have been week 2.
Okay. Now let's talk about the the fight last night. Fairly competitive, but also dominant as well.
Yeah. Aaron was a tough dude. I thought I was getting him out of there a few times, and he fought hard and came back through and did what he needed to not get finished. I do feel like it was a dominant performance, but I gotta give him his credit on that.
No, for sure. And the one thing I noticed last night is, and I like the fights in the Apex. To be honest with you, I like being able to hear. You can hear the coaching, you can hear some of the yelling, which you don't hear a whole lot of get him a body bag and sweep the leg in the Apex. That's only in the big arenas. There seemed to be a lot of yelling in that episode last night. Did you notice that?
I've fought in the Apex a handful of times, even before the Ultimate Fighter. I've had probably at least 5 fights in the Apex,
Right.
which I think it was a helpful thing. It wasn't a completely new experience fighting in the Apex. So I was kind of used to that, where it's quiet, but you can still hear every little thing around you. But compared to a big arena, it's a lot quieter and a lot less confusion, commotion type noise. If that makes sense.
All the fighters always say that you can, tell certain voices, so you can block out all the other noise. Is that the same in the Apex, where it's, smaller, obviously, but you can literally hear everything? Can you still block out?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny. I specifically remember hearing some of the guys comment while I was fighting, and even I remember hearing McGregor saying stuff about my semifinal fight during the fight, and I remember him saying something and hearing it, and not even trying to listen to him, but I don't know. It was weird, the things that I was hearing and picking up while I was fighting.
That leads me to, and I ask a lot of fighters the strangest, craziest thing, and the one that always comes to mind is I was talking to a fighter who fought Dennis Seaver, and he said that, he heard the corner, they're talking in German, and he said that he sort of saw the movie, what was it?
Inglourious Bastards.
Thank you, Inglourious Bastards. So he's for about 6 seconds, he's watching this movie as he's in a fist fight. What's the craziest thing like that? Because that's kind of what you just said, that you're in the middle of a fight, you kind of hear Connor, but you don't, but you do.
Yeah, I think the craziest thing was what I said. I remember hearing people talking when watching the fight, and they weren't even talking to me necessarily. I just could hear their comments.
What was your opinion, on the episode last night? Did everything, go, not the fight, I'm saying the episode, go, like you knew that it would be shown? Everything good for you last night?
yeah, I thought it got put together real well. Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I might be biased because it's my episode, but I think it was the best episode yet.
Well, and Jason Knight has said every week, you know, he's not getting much TV time. He can't wait till it's finally his week.
Yeah, his time's coming, no doubt.
Good stuff. Well, Austin, thank you very much for your time. I know we have your address. We're going to send you a care package from 8 Man Strong and a care package from Bucked Up Energy Drink for coming on and talking to us. And let's talk again real soon.
Thank you, I appreciate it, and absolutely.
Take care. That is Austin Hubbard. Victorious last night is Team Chandler, 3-0.
Thud is a great nickname. I like the name. I'm a fan of the name.
Yeah, I like Thud. I thought you said Thug, but
No,
you know,
Thud.
I like Thud.
Like Thud. Like,
All right,
you know.
and it makes sense. It is
It's great.
cool. It is cool. All right, let's hit a break. Coming to you live from Tournament to Pizza. This is Knockout Radio, brought to you by 8 Man Strong, Staff Zone, and Bucked Up Energy Drink.